Millennia ago, a promise was sealed with a man named Abraham, a promise destined to cross generations, to shape monarchs, to incite wars, and to define the destiny of a nation. From this promise emerged 12 lineages, 12 tribes, each with a name, a trajectory, a vocation. However, over the ages, these tribes vanished, were scattered, annihilated, and some were never found again. Have you ever wondered who these 12 tribes of Israel were? Why were they elected? What function did they perform in the sacred battles, in the biblical kingdoms, and in the perennial covenants? And why did so many of them disappear from history as if swallowed by time? The book of Genesis documents the names of the sons of Jacob, the one whom God named Israel: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Joseph, and Benjamin. 12 men, 12 lineages, 12 prophetic destinies. They were not mere families, they were standards, tribes sealed by a celestial pact. This is not only a chronicle of the past, it is a marked trail in the scriptures, from the land of Canaan to the exile, from the book of Genesis to the book of Revelation. For there in chapter 7, they reappear, 12,000 from each tribe, sealed for the consummation of the ages. Prepare yourself, for what you are about to hear is not just history, it is the revelation of a mystery that spans millennia and may be fulfilling now before our eyes. It all began with a voice, an order from the invisible. Get out of your country, from your family and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. Thus God called a man named Abram, still in Ur of the Chaldeans, to begin a journey without a map, equipped only with a promise. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. But Abraham had no offspring, and the years were passing. His wife Sarah, already advanced in age, remained barren. The promise seemed remote, almost an irony, until in an improbable moment God fulfilled what he had promised, and Isaac was born, the son of the promise, the heir of an eternal design. Isaac, in turn, begot Jacob. And with Jacob, something changed forever. On a solitary night, he wrestled with a mysterious being until the break of dawn. Wounded but determined, Jacob declared, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." And there, the angel told him, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed." From that moment on, Jacob, now Israel, became the father of 12 sons. Each one of them would give rise to a tribe. Each tribe would carry not just a name, but a prophetic identity. What had begun with a promise in the desert now took shape. The birth of a people chosen by God, destined to be a light among the nations and to bear the weight of a perennial covenant. The tribes of Israel were being born, but what did each one represent and where would they go? The history of the 12 tribes was just beginning. Jacob had 12 sons, the fruit of 4 women, Leah, Rachel, Bilhah, and Zilpah. But it was not a common family. It was marked by rivalry, jealousy, betrayals, and choices that would echo for centuries. Each son received a name with profound meaning, born from the pains and hopes of their mothers, and each one would become the patriarch of a tribe. The firstborn was Reuben, son of Leah. Next came Simeon, Levi, and Judah, all from Leah as well. Then Dan and Naphtali were born, sons of Bilhah, Rachel's servant. Then came Gad and Asher, sons of Zilpah, Leah's servant. And later, Leah gave birth to Issachar and Zebulun. Finally, Rachel had Joseph and Benjamin, Jacob's most beloved. The firstborn was Reuben, but Jacob's heart belonged to Joseph, son of Rachel, the woman he loved from the beginning. Because of this, Joseph grew up surrounded by favors. Jacob gave him a long, multicolored tunic, distinct from any other, a garment of honor that set him apart from his brothers. But the tunic was just the beginning. Joseph began to have dreams, and they were not common. In one of them, the sheaves of wheat of his brothers bowed down before his. In another, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars prostrated themselves before him. When Joseph recounted the dreams, his brothers hated him even more. Envy turned into hatred, hatred into a plan. On an ordinary day, Jacob sent Joseph to the field to check on his brother's well-being. But when they saw him from afar, they said among themselves, "Look, here comes the dreamer. Let's kill him and see what will become of his dreams." Instead of killing him, they decided to throw him into an empty cistern and soon after sold him as a slave to Ishmaelite merchants who took him to Egypt. There, in a foreign land, Joseph was bought by Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh. God was with him, and everything he did prospered. But even being faithful, Joseph was the target of a new injustice. Falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, he was thrown into prison, forgotten, silenced, far from home, far from the promise. But even in prison, God exalted him. Joseph interpreted dreams, and one day Pharaoh himself had a disturbing dream that no magician or priest could decipher until they remembered the Hebrew in prison. Joseph was called before Pharaoh and revealed, "There will be 7 years of abundance, followed by 7 years of famine." And he suggested that the king prepare himself. Pharaoh, impressed, made him governor over all Egypt. The Hebrew slave now commanded the most powerful nation in the world. Then the famine came, and with it, his brothers went down to Egypt to buy provisions, without knowing that the man before them was the brother they had betrayed. They bowed down before Joseph, exactly as in the dreams, but Joseph did not take revenge. He cried, forgave, revealed his identity, and sent for his father, Jacob, and the whole family. Israel went down to Egypt, and there a new phase of history would begin. Before dying, Jacob blessed each son, but upon reaching Joseph, he did something different. He adopted his 2 sons as if they were his own. "Ephraim and Manasseh shall be mine." With this, Joseph would become 2 tribes, and his name would be perpetuated through his sons. Because of this, the number 12 would be maintained, even with the exclusion of another tribe in the division of lands. But this mystery will be revealed later, for what God had begun with Joseph would still be fulfilled in unexpected ways. Joseph was the rejected one who became a savior, the forgotten one who became a ruler. And the dream he carried was never just his, it was God's dream for an entire people. Jacob's family prospered in Egypt. The children of Israel multiplied rapidly. What had begun with 70 people turned into a multitude. But the years passed, Joseph died, and a new Pharaoh arose who did not know the history of the Hebrews. He saw them as a threat, and thus the chosen people were cast into slavery. It was more than 400 years of servitude, whips, bricks, humiliation. Israel cried out, and it seemed that heaven was silent. But God heard and summoned a deliverer. In the middle of a burning bush, in the desert of Midian, God spoke to Moses, "I have surely seen the oppression of my people, and have come down to deliver them." Moses, born a Hebrew, raised in the palace, exiled in the desert, would now be God's voice before Pharaoh. The plagues came, blood in the river, locusts, darkness, the death of the firstborn. And finally, Pharaoh yielded. The people left Egypt hastily, but before the sea they seemed cornered. It was then that the impossible happened. The Red Sea opened, Israel passed through on dry ground, and the Egyptian army was submerged. In the desert, the people received the law, the 10 commandments engraved by the finger of God. But it was also in the desert that they revealed their rebellion. Murmurings, idolatry, disobedience. An entire generation perished before entering the promised land. Only 2 men of that generation would cross the Jordan, Caleb from the tribe of Judah and Joshua from the tribe of Ephraim. Joshua was chosen to lead, an obedient warrior, full of the Spirit of God. Under his command, the walls of Jericho crumbled, kings were defeated, cities conquered. And finally, Israel began to take possession of the land that God had promised Abraham centuries before. Then, the moment of division arrived. Each tribe received its inheritance. The land was distributed among the 12 tribes, but there was a secret in that map. The tribe of Levi, chosen by God for the priesthood, did not receive territory like the others. Their legacy would be service in the temple and the offerings of the people. To maintain the number 12, the tribe of Joseph was divided into two, Ephraim and Manasseh, the sons he had had in Egypt. Thus the tribes of Israel were established: Reuben, Simeon, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Benjamin, Ephraim, and Manasseh. 12 names that marked the soil of Canaan, 12 lineages that represented the eternal promises, 12 paths that would now become the backbone of the history of the entire Old Testament. But the unity between them would be fragile, and what God had planted with glory would soon face wars, divisions, and a mysterious disappearance. The saga of the tribes was far from over. Each of the 12 tribes of Israel carried a name, a territory, an identity, but also a prophecy. Before dying, Jacob gathered his sons and blessed them one by one. His words were not just paternal, they were prophetic, revealing the character, the future, and even the destiny of each tribe. Reuben, the firstborn, was first in the natural order, but Jacob sentenced, "You are my firstborn, but unstable as water, you shall not excel." Reuben had dishonored his father, and his tribe, although inheriting lands, lost the primacy. Simeon and Levi were condemned for violence. Jacob declared, "Let not my soul enter into their council." They had massacred a city to avenge their sister. As a consequence, Simeon would be absorbed by Judah, and Levi would be scattered throughout Israel. But their curse was transformed into a blessing. They became the priests, consecrated to the service of the Lord. Judah received the noblest blessing: "The scepter shall not depart from Judah." From his lineage would come David, and later the Messiah. Judah would become the strongest tribe in the south. Dan was called a serpent by the way. His history would be marked by early idolatry. In Revelation, Dan is not even mentioned among the sealed tribes. Naphtali was compared to a doe set loose, a symbol of freedom. His territory in the north was the setting for many of Jesus' miracles centuries later. Gad, Asher, and Issachar inherited important portions. Gad was a warrior, Asher would have abundant bread, and Issachar was described as a strong donkey, a hard-working but oppressed people. Zebulun would dwell by the sea, becoming a bridge for commerce. Benjamin, the youngest, was described as a wolf that devours. From him came fierce warriors, including King Saul and later the Apostle Paul. Ephraim and Manasseh, sons of Joseph, inherited important portions. Ephraim became dominant in the north, leading the kingdom of Israel after the division, but was also a symbol of apostasy. The inheritance was sealed, the tribes established, but Jacob's prophecy was a spiritual map. Many of these tribes, even blessed, would fall into idolatry, fratricidal wars, and dangerous alliances. What was supposed to be a united nation under one God would soon begin to fragment. The next chapter will reveal how this unity began to crumble and how, little by little, 10 of the 12 tribes mysteriously disappeared. Time passed. After the conquest, the Israelites lived under the leadership of judges, but the people asked for a king. Saul, from the tribe of Benjamin, was the first, imposing but disobedient. God rejected him. Then David, from the tribe of Judah, was anointed, a shepherd who defeated giants and united the people. After David came Solomon, known for his wisdom and for building the temple. Under his reign, Israel reached its zenith. But with Solomon's death, everything began to crumble. His son, Rehoboam, ignored the advice of the elders and oppressed the people. The consequence was immediate. 10 of the 12 tribes rebelled. Under the leadership of Jeroboam, from the tribe of Ephraim, they formed the northern kingdom, known as Israel. Only Judah and Benjamin remained faithful to the dynasty of David, forming the southern kingdom called Judah. This division was more than political, it was spiritual. The northern kingdom, under Jeroboam, broke with Jerusalem and erected 2 golden calves, plunging into idolatry. Meanwhile, the southern kingdom lasted longer, but not even Judah was exempt from decay. Wicked kings arose, the temple was profaned. This division marked the beginning of the end for many tribes, a chosen people, now divided by hatred and rebellion. But the punishment would come, and the consequences would be irreversible. The northern kingdom, led by Ephraim, plunged deeper and deeper into idolatry. Warnings came through prophets like Elijah, Elisha, Amos, and Hosea, but they were ignored. And then, in 722 BC, judgment came. Assyria, a brutal empire, invaded the northern kingdom, devastated the land, and took the people captive. The 10 tribes were removed and never returned. What happened to them? The Bible says that the Assyrians transplanted pagan peoples to inhabit the land. The deported Israelites were assimilated, marrying foreigners, losing their language, customs, and faith. They became invisible to history. These are the so-called 10 lost tribes of Israel. Their destiny remains a mystery. Some believe they were completely assimilated, others that remnants survived in distant regions. But there is something deeper. God never forgot them. In Ezekiel, God shows a vision of 2 sticks, one for Judah and one for Ephraim, that become one, a promise of restoration. In the book of Revelation, chapter 7, the tribes reappear, 12,000 sealed from each one, preserved for the last days. But there is something curious. The tribe of Dan is absent, and Joseph reappears as a proper name, a mystery that points to eternal choices and silent judgments. The 10 tribes disappeared from human history, but not from God's plan. The question that remains is, where are they now? Although the 10 tribes disappeared from the historical narrative, they remain present in the prophetic narrative. God has not forgotten them. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, the prophet sees a valley of dry bones. God asks, "Can these bones live?" And then, before his eyes, the bones come together, sinews and flesh appear, and an army revives. God explains, "These bones are the whole house of Israel." Not just Judah, but the whole house, including the disappeared tribes. Soon after, the Lord orders the prophet to join 2 sticks, one for Judah and one for Joseph, representing Ephraim and all Israel, so that they become one. One day, what was divided will be restored. In the book of Revelation, John has the vision of the 144,000 sealed, mentioning 12,000 from each tribe. Ancient names which seemed forgotten reappear, spiritually separated for a purpose in the last days. But there is a mystery in the list. The tribe of Dan is absent, and Joseph, who had been divided, reappears unified. The history of the tribes did not end with the exile. They were scattered, yes, but not erased. They were forgotten by men, but not by God. The same God who promised Abraham an uncountable descendants is gathering his people, even if the world does not notice. Jesus said, "I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." He came to call back those who were far away, and in the time of the end, the gathering of the tribes will be a sign, a prelude to the coming kingdom. The history of the tribes is not just past, it is living prophecy. 12 names engraved in time, 12 lineages chosen by God, a promise that began with a man in tents, crossed the desert, flourished in a promised land, divided into 2 kingdoms, and was swallowed by silence. 10 tribes vanished, but the breath of God still knows them and one day will bring them back. The Bible begins with these tribes and ends with them. In Revelation, their names are sealed, remembered, exalted. Perhaps today you only see nations at war, but in God's eyes, there is an invisible line connecting everything to the promises made to Abraham. Promises that involve the return of the tribes, the restoration of Israel, and the reign of the Messiah. What seemed like an ancient history may be the foreshadowing of what is to come, because when the tribes return, it will be the announcement that the end is near and that the King is at the doors. The 12 tribes of Israel continue to echo in the present and in the prophetic future of humanity. For centuries, the tribes of Israel have been sought, studied. Archaeologists have excavated ruins. Theologians have traced names. But in the end, the question that remains is not just where they are, but why does God still speak of them? The Bible does not waste words. If the names of these tribes still echo, it is because they represent more than blood. They represent legacy, identity, a history that God has not abandoned. What if the tribes are not just in the old maps? What if they are mixed among the peoples, among people who do not even know where they came from, but who still carry an ancestral calling in their spirit? After all, the Apostle Paul wrote, "For they are not all Israel who are of Israel, but the children of the promise are counted as the seed." This is not just a story about the past. It is a reminder that God is faithful, that He keeps promises even if they take millennia, and that what began with 12 sons will end with a redeemed, united people, under one name, one King, and one purpose. The prophecy is alive, the clock is ticking, and the names of the tribes that the world forgot are still written in God's hands. Perhaps yours is too.